welcome to Labor Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week edition of the program, we'll be discussing all about the Pension Reform Act and how it affects the average worker. We also have news stories for you. We will be right back. The discussion surrounding Nigeria's economic outlook for 2025 continues to generate interest at both local and international levels. At the Frederick Ibach Team Funga meeting, Ahmad Zorn emphasized the importance of fostering a thriving global community.
When we're looking at global landscape right now, we understand that there are a lot of countries out there on their way to economic development that will play a very important role in the next decades. And we also understood that maybe the way Germany, and especially the European Union, or let's say certain of our neighbors, have been doing trade in the last years and decades wasn't really fair, to be honest. But we are rather looking forward to have a collaboration, to have a partnership where people in Nigeria, people in Germany, but also across the globe will benefit from this kind of partnership.
Our partners said that the effects are also very strongly visible and have affected people's lives. That is the floating of the naira, which has led to a depreciation, and also the removal of the fuel subsidy.
Guest lecturer Professor Wale Ogunkola from the University of Ibadan analyzed the Nigerian economy projecting moderate growth despite persistent challenges such as inflation, fiscal pressure, and structural constraints.
If we must develop, we are not looking for moderate growth. We need a quantum leap. We need growth rate that is higher, much, much higher than population growth rate. If we need space at all, we can reduce population growth rate and we have enough for us. Let us assume that we can reduce that, then we should be more productive.
The situation is very bad, but I believe with our resilience and consistent shouting and talking to them, I believe, and government listening to the voice of the people, I think there should be a better thing that will happen in our sector.
The event concluded with a consensus on the urgent need for structural transformation, including reforms in the production landscape and the institutionalization of economic rebasing every 5 years. Sharon Ijason, TVC News.
Thank you.
On July 22, 2025, retired police officers staged a peaceful protest in Abuja, decrying poor welfare conditions and inadequate pension payments. The retirees voiced their frustrations, describing the financial hardships they endure month after month since leaving active service.
After my retirement, it was 2,100,000 being given to me as a deputy superintendent of police. And every month, my monthly pension is 35,000 naira.
I stay for 1 year, 3 months before they give me 1.9. Every month I'm receiving 22,000 up to today.
I was told to come and sign a consent form. And when I get to pension headquarters here in Abuja, I was given a form to sign. And I was told that my pension, my gratuity is 3.6 million. And I shouted.
I was enlisted into the Nigerian police force in 1982. And I went for cadet. Cadet days. I am a member of Force 23, 2008. See, what we are telling the federal government, they should give justice to themselves if they really need peace.
For over a year, the retired officers have consistently outlined the following demands: that the National Assembly amend the Pension Reform Act of 2014 to exempt police retirees from the contributory pension scheme, that a bill be passed to establish a police pension board to oversee and manage police pensions similar to existing structures of the military, DSS, and NIA, that Any police officer who retires after 30 years of service or upon reaching the age of 60 should be entitled to a pension not less than 80% of their total emoluments. To better understand their plight, I spoke with Otu Ofem, a retired commissioner of police in Lagos, southwest Nigeria. He described the contributory pension scheme as unsustainable and said life after retirement has become unbearable under the current system.
If the scheme is good, why should AIGs to DIGs and IGs remove themselves if the scheme is a good one? But they remove themselves. And they are not ashamed to leave even CPs. Any CP you see going today, when he retires, there's no difference between that CP and an inspector. We have 3 schemes in the Nigerian police force: AIGs, DIGs, IGs have a different pension scheme. Then, as of today, they enjoy all that they should enjoy. When they retire, they get all their money. They leave CPs, commissioners of police, down to remain under CPS. So that is, we have AIGs and above one scheme, CPs down one scheme. Meanwhile, we have what we call defined benefit scheme, controlled by what we call Pension Transition Arrangement Directorate, PTAD. This is another scheme. This scheme is for those who had 3 years or less to retire before the commencement of CPS in 2004. So they belong to PTAD DBS. Their pension and gratuity completely different from our own. It's mendacious. They deceive you by telling you that primarily what is the problem with our gratuity and pension is because of low salary. That they are deceiving you. It's a contributory factor. That is a contributory factor. But the issue of lump sum, whatever amount you have, even if you have 20 million as your ROSC balance, and they give you 25%, which is 1/4. 1/4 of 20 will be 5 million. They will keep 15 million. And they say they are using that money for investment. Then the owners of the money are almost affiliated. We are almost denied oxygen. We are almost denied oxygen.
In 2014, the National Assembly repealed the Pension Reform Act of 2004. This repeal introduced a new Pension Act that exempted the military, DSS, and NIA from the contributory pension scheme. Representatives of the retirees revealed that over 500 retired police officers died between October 2020 and October 2024, an alarming statistics that underscores the urgency of their appeal.
I am the retired Deputy Superintendent of Police retiree under contributory pension. It's nothing we can write home about it, because the money given to us, especially the ones so-called lump sum, is so small, and that lump sum is like regarding as a gratuity, and it is too small. At the end of 35 years of active service, you are being just given a pile sum of, like me, I received 2.6 million. Then on monthly pensions of 40,000. Then when the federal government released 2.5%, I was given 41,000 naira. And the recent increment, they announced all over the world that they have increased our money. Only 4,000 was added to me, making altogether 45,000 naira as my monthly pension, which I only collected it last month. That is 45,000 naira. So the system is not conducive for us. That is why we are protesting and begging the federal government to exit us, just like other sister agency in the field. The experiencing by some of our own colleagues are so numerous, because a lot of them, when they fall sick, they cannot afford any money to buy medication or to go to any hospital for treatment.
The retirees are also calling on the Director General of the National Pension Commission, Omolola Oloworaran, tasked with regulating and supervising Nigeria's pension industry, to facilitate their withdrawal from the Nigerian Police Force Pension Fund Administration. Although the Pension Act of 2004 was repealed, the retired officers remain hopeful that the 10th National Assembly will act decisively by amending the 2014 Pension Reform Act to address their concerns.
Pension, of course, has become a huge crisis. Everybody knows that. Not just now, for over the years. And in many countries that there is scam, is countries that have taken time to really streamline their pension activities. The NLC didn't just wake up and subscribe to contributory pension. Before then, there was no contributory pension. Government was setting money aside. But with time, it became obvious that they were not setting any money aside. So we have to subscribe to contributory pension. Because if you don't, nobody will get anything. Then eventually, the law was made. So many states have not queued in. First is that it is the interest of the states and the workers to actually go into the contributory pension. If not, at least it will help you save something for yourself before, because usually people think retirement is still long. Before you turn your back, you have retired. So, 2, the state governors should know that it degenerates to wickedness if you don't pay pension.
In the informal sector, we don't even talk of pension. And of course, part of our agitation over time has also been that what we call social protection, basic social security, social protection programs should be extended to people working in the formal economy. And it will appear that government, in response to that agitation, came up with what they call micro pension plan for informal sector. But our right from inception of that program, our point has always been that for that program to really work, government must subsidize it. So it's not enough, because as it were, what they say is just pick a pension fund administrator, a PFA, and then you can save whatever you like. Then we told them at the inception, right from 2015, that it's not going to fly. Government must subsidize it, if not for any other reason, to limit the effect of inflation.
On the Profile Interview segment this week, we'll continue our conversation as regards the workers and pension scheme. Is the scheme actually working for Nigerians? This and many more is what we would hear in our conversation with the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress. All these boards constituted already?
Well, apart from the NSITF board that they have inaugurated, the Michael Imodu Labour Institute is yet to be inaugurated. The IAP is yet to be inaugurated. So many other boards, the National Provident Fund, the NDE, those boards, 2 years after this administration has not been inaugurated. And these are boards that labor is represented in. So the interests of labor and workers are not protected. Now the PENCOM board, contribution that goes to PENCOM is contribution between the worker and the employer. Now, the government now appoints DG for that board. What is the concern of government? To appoint a DG, and for 3 years, there's no board. The DG is there spending workers' money for nothing, illegally. Well, as we talk now, the money that is not his. And from time to time, you'll be hearing that government wants to borrow money there to run affairs. And illegal, whatever the DG is spending up to is illegal. And they are not bothered. Letters are being sent almost on monthly basis. We have written letters for audience to discuss these issues with the president. Nobody is giving us that. To worsen it was that of NSITF. So these are issues on the ambiguity of what is happening. The Nigerian Employers Consultative Association have been shouting because it is a contribution by the employer and the employee that goes to PENCOM. So why would somebody be there, and doing all manner of things? So those are the issues that we are raising. We don't know how our money is going on. We don't know whether money is still remaining there. So that was on the basis of that we raised, even in ILO, these issues, clear intervention and interference and hijacking of the workers' funds. The defined pension scheme, government abandoned it and see it's contributory, that they cannot pay people pension for life. And people are now contributing. And you have now hijacked the money, hijacked the appointment. Ordinarily, the board members should determine, who should be a DG there. But that's not the case. When Obasanjo came into office, 2 issues. Some people for 4 years, 5 years did not receive their pension. That is the defined pension scheme. Governments that even have pension boards in some states, there is no money there, money paid in there. Now, what Obasanjo did was he started looking at half bread is better than none. And he took some European model to look at contributory pension, so that when you leave, at least you have something. Employer contribute this percentage, worker contribute this percentage. And that equally assisted the private sector to a very large extent. The private sector, where you have companies that will work for 5 years or 10 years, and they go under, they disappear. The workers there, who will be there to pay them pension for life? That was what, led to the formation of this PENCOM. And then the PFAs were licensed to operate. Now, if you ask me, the benefit to workers in the private sector is much on this contributory pension. Because if you contribute for only 5 years and the employer, disappears, maybe you collect the money you have contributed for 5 years. It's not the same thing as the employer will pay you pension for life, but the employer, you can't see the employer. So we are managing it. Some employers, in fact, even when it is a criminal offense, for you to deduct without remitting, some employers are still deducting without remitting. But that has been the battle we have been facing. And at the enactment of that act, some foreign employers now said gratuity is not part of it. They stopped paying gratuity, including the federal government. Now, but what happened was the Pension Reform Act, and pension is not gratuity. And that's why in most cases you see pension and gratuity. State governments, federal government, when people retire, they now ask them to go to their PFAs. It's a lie. Gratuity is the being gratuitous, and it's the first thing you get when you retire from work that will assist you to stabilize until you start receiving pension. Even the colonial masters, when they have UAC and others, some of them will have gold wristwatch. Some of them will have so many handshakes that they will give to you with some money. But the federal government is part of the corporates today that are not paying gratuity. And they know that the Pension Reform Act was not reforming gratuity. So these are some of the aberrations when you talk about the future of retirees, how bleak it is. And there's no exception, whether you are in the paramilitary or whatever. There's no exception. That's why you are noticing the issue that has to do with retired police pension, But I think that the management, the IG and the Police Service Commission should sit down with them, and listen to them and find out what they are saying. The issue of defined pension, some states that have not joined the new pension policy.
For the paramilitary, why is it that our constitution does not support them to be part of the union? In some other climes, it's not the same. Would you say that is why we have some police officers, retired policemen on the streets protesting?
Yeah, that was the aberration. Prior to now, 1978, 79, 80, you know, the custom and excise and immigration union was registered. And they had an office in Herbert Macaulay, Lagos. Halfway, you know, they came up with a policy that because they carry arms, that they should not be a union. So that union was proscribed, clearly. Now, however, even my colleague in South Africa, the COSATU president, comes from the recreational services union, you know, prison, warden, here civil defense, all those paramilitary. They are unionized, clearly, you know. The only thing is that maybe they don't carry arms when they are going for union activities. You know, in South Africa, the police is unionized, and some other countries of the world, the prisoners, the immigration, the custom, they are unionized. But here, they are not. And now nobody speaks for them. It's not like that. They will tell you people are essential services, but there's no essential preference given to them. You know, so that is why when these ones now retire, you know, you see somebody telling you that his gratuity after 30, 35 years is 2 million, 3 million. Now, who should have addressed that? Even if you call it Police Welfare Union Association, even if you want to make it a staff association, there should be some people, some representatives that will say, you have not paid us, what you are paying us is small. If you go to barracks, you know the need for you to have a union. You see that no toilets, nothing. You know, their welfare is not taken care of. So I think it's important, we have to review it. You know, even in Nigeria now, we have been pushing for INEC, you know, and they are resisting. So what is it in INEC that they can't belong to? They can't belong to unions. So many restrictions. And these restrictions come in countries where they have something to hide. Ordinarily, why will you restrict people from belonging to union? You know, because the Constitution guaranteed them that right, Section 40, that every Nigerian has the right to form, belong to any trade union of his choice, political party of his choice, religion of his choice. Now, the other way, you restrict them from that. Even if you want to moderate it, it's not bad, but to now say you can't, I think there's more to it.
I don't know if you have the record of those that have been able to subscribe to the PFAs and what are the implications?
It's ongoing. It is a situation whereby in some states where governments are paying the defined pension, nobody wants to migrate. That's the fact, you know. And then in some states where the governments are not paying, some governors are trying to equally embrace the contributory pension, while they are having some level of resistance. So, but if they have joint committees, some states have set up joint committees to harmonize this process. I'm telling you that if you go to some states for 5 years, 4 years, people retire, they are not getting their entitlement, they are not getting their pension. So the dilemma now is that some are paying the defined pension and religiously too. Some are not paying the defined pension and they did not migrate to the PFA. So I think there is need for harmony in this regard. You know, and then the level of unemployment, the level of economic problem has gotten to a state that your children are no longer your pension. You see some children, their parents train them, for the past 10 years they don't have job. So if you and then they will continue to depend on their parents. So rather than the children doing something to take care of their parents, there is no job. The economy is bad. So it's a dicey situation, and we pray things will improve.
Thank you very much for your time.
God bless you.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.